Is meat eating an addiction? Is going vegan guilt-inducing? Does it exacerbate our sense of perfectionism? What's a psychologist's view? Part 2 of my conversation with Angela Crawford on her new book, The Vegan Transformation, next on the PETA Podcast with Emil Guillermo. Welcome to the PETA Podcast. I'm Emil Guillermo, your host for this inside look at animal rights. Brought to you by PETA, the largest animal rights organization in the world. On this episode, part 2 of my conversation with Dr. Angela Crawford, her new book, The Vegan Transformation. She surveyed 350 vegans to find out how veganism changed them and how it changed their reasons for going vegan, how they expanded from the animals to themselves to the world. My conversation with Angela Crawford on the PETA Podcast with Emil Guillermo.
We touched on the values alignment and the spiritual deepening part of it. So the others are very much related to the values alignment, was an expansion of compassion, that now we care about more than just a few sentient beings. We realize that all life matters, and we care about farmed animals and other animals that we had turned a blind eye to.
All life, even snakes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Try.
All right. All right.
Doesn't mean we might not be scared of them, but
Okay. All right. Snakes. Okay.
Yeah, but this compassion for all sentient beings, and that even though compassion can be painful sometimes because we're aware of suffering, it also is healthy for us. It's a healthy human quality. Other findings were a sense of meaning and purpose. Many of the people that I interviewed found that by not eating animals and not buying animal products, all of that, there was a sense of through not contributing to suffering, I feel a greater meaning in my life. And some of them even went further, turning that into work, like jobs, businesses, volunteer work. Just so many people seem to feel a commitment that, okay, not only am I vegan, but I want to somehow help beyond that to share the message. So that was a common finding. Authentic fulfillment. Not everybody that is vegan is going to be happy all the time. No human is probably happy all the time. And sometimes we are aware of suffering, and that can be challenging. But at the same time, there's this deeper fulfillment that comes with all the things I've been mentioning, that, alignment with values and just this way that I'm living in a way I can really feel good about. So that was one that came through. Connection with a like-hearted tribe of people. Once you're vegan and you meet other vegans around the world or around the country, you find that you have so much in common, and it's this shared passion. So I've certainly discovered that, and a lot of people I interviewed reported that.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you can't be friends with someone who eats steak all the time.
Well, I have a lot of non-vegan friends too, but there's this deep connection when I talk to somebody, no matter where they live, that shares this passion. It's something that just immediately gives a connection that I might not have otherwise with them. And the final one is health empowerment. Whether someone became vegan for ethical reasons or other reasons, many of the people I interviewed did find empowerment over their health because eating plant-based actually helped many people to heal things, even when they weren't expecting that. One person in particular that I interviewed, she said, I became vegan for the animals, but I was surprised to find a month later I was free of my fibromyalgia symptoms. I hadn't expected that, I was free of chronic pain. So sometimes healings happen, whether that's the reason we move to a vegan lifestyle or not. Sometimes that does happen, and that makes us feel empowered because, hey, there's something I can do besides a pill sometimes, for my own well-being.
Well, it makes you realize that drugs really just come from plants and food, and that you can just ingest better food to, instead of better drugs to ward off all the things that are ailing you based on the bad food you ate. Yeah. So it makes sense that veganism could be, certainly diabetes, high blood pressure. It's been proven through, the books of, Dr. Neil Barnard and all the other doctors out there who've written about reversing heart disease and blood pressure problems. Food, a good
Yeah.
diet, as opposed to the sad diet.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, and that's a huge thing that I find people that might not yet be ready to think about the compassion for animals sometimes are curious about veganism because of the health and nutritional aspects of it. And I'm happy to welcome people towards this lifestyle for whatever reasons they are willing to consider it, because there is a health crisis in our country as well as ethical crisis.
Yeah, and so you also have some tips on what people can do, but what should people? What was one thing that you can say from the book about the vegan transformation that people should do in order to make that first step toward
Yeah.
the vegan lifestyle?
So getting started in whatever way works with your personality. Some people are in all or nothing overnight change, and that works for some people. So if you're that person, then get the information you need and just get started. For other people, it might be more of a gradual process, and that's okay too. If it means that letting go of some animal products and easing your way in, that's okay too, because it can give you confidence that will help you keep moving forward. The key, though, I think, is have a plan for a change date. So if you're not doing it all at once, maybe like giving yourself a month, for example, to work your way towards it and figure out, what are my blocks? What are the things that I'm having a challenge with that I need to learn a solution to?
Yeah.
And there are great books like The 30-Day Vegan Challenge by Colleen Patrick Gaudreau. I know you have a lot of resources on, your website.
The PETA website, yeah.
Um, just get started, because it's when you're in motion. Don't wait till the perfect time. It's when you're in motion that you learn what you need to learn to make it successful. So
Great. And where can people get your book? Where can people find it? I guess wherever books are sold.
yes, it was published by Lantern Publishing, a wonderful publishing company that specializes in a lot of vegan and animal rights and other kinds of books. And it's available anywhere you buy books: Amazon, Barnes and Noble, the bookshop, maybe even your local bookseller. But yes, you can definitely find it at all bookstores. Right now it's in paperback and ebook, and I think the audiobook will be coming before too long.
And so it's called The Vegan Transformation: A Journey to Heal Yourself and the World.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
And
not
I
leave it.
really wanted
Yeah.
to highlight that, healing ourselves and caring for the world is interconnected. These two things are in harmony with each other, not at odds with each other.
No. Where'd you grow up, Angela?
Oh, I grew up in Iowa, the Midwest.
The Midwest. The
Yeah.
hardy
So
Midwest.
lots of, animals grazing in the field. I had no idea really about the truth of animal agriculture or about factory farming, for sure.
Oh boy, and that's probably because of things like the ag gag laws and things like
Yeah.
that.
They're, very well hidden. I never saw them.
We were driving through Iowa one year. We broke down. Our car just stopped working in Des Moines, and we were stuck in Des Moines, really more outside of Clyde, for about
Okay.
5 days, waiting for a part to come in from Japan. And the amount of vegan options were very limited. Although they said, well, maybe there's something at the state fair, not at the state fair, but there was just I very pig oriented, meat oriented. And boy, it's almost like if you live there, this is part of the lifestyle. Meat is part of the lifestyle. What are you doing ripping this away from our lifestyle? That's got to cause a real culture shock for some, and it probably makes vegans, if they're, people won't discover their inner vegan because the culture is so dominant. That's it's hard.
Yeah. No, I think what you're naming is really true. I mean, at our heart, we are social creatures. We're wired for needing social connection. We're wired to want to fit in with our tribes, our families, our social networks. So I think it is harder for people that live in communities where meat is super dominant in their family or cultural traditions. I think it is harder. It does take a real breakthrough to say, hey, I'm going to go against, everything that I was raised to believe, and to go against the family traditions and follow my heart and my ethics to eat in a way that's better for me and better for what I care about, and better for the planet and animals.
Yeah, but how, when you're faced with that, and that becomes the belief that is imposed or inculcated on you, now suddenly you're saying, where do you get that belief, the contrary, the opposite belief that, oh, I've got to be more compassionate to the animals? It's got to be either super suppressed by the dominance of the culture you're in, or somehow what, people are just born a certain way. What is the view of the psychologist, that people have
Yeah.
this inner vegan in them that must come out? Like a lot of things are saying, oh, you're not you're dystopia because you're in a bad culture, but you are born this way. Is that, can you
Yeah,
say
I
that
don't
about
know that
veganism?
there is clear, hard science to say for sure. I would speculate a few things. One is there may be some personality traits that would make us a little more ready to take this on while we're still in the early adopter stage, I guess, even though it's been around for a while, because it's in my research, it was only about 3% of the global population that was vegan. And some I've read less than that. So I don't know if, what's the exact number. But so I think, there are some personality traits that perhaps help someone be more ready to take this on at this phase in our vegan journey. Maybe in time, when there's more of a tipping point, it will become something that's easier and easier for a wider and wider variety of people to say yes to. But for right now, I think the person has to be willing to be independent, to think differently than people in their network, and sometimes it might be more compassion too, but I don't know 100%, because some people that I wouldn't have thought of as super compassionate still sometimes awaken to this vegan lifestyle just because it ethically feels right to them, So, and others break through for health reasons, as I mentioned before, and sometimes then, because they're not eating animals, it just suddenly becomes possible to look more closely at the whole process of how that happens, and to realize that, I don't ethically want to it's also an ethical decision as well. So I don't know the answer for sure of why some people do and some don't. I also think there are some seeds planted for many people before they make the leap. They might not always recognize those seeds, but for example, with me, before I saw the program on PBS about the workers in the meat processing plant, I had eaten at a conference center that served vegan meals, and they were delicious. And I remember thinking, I was still not open to making the change at that moment, but I thought, oh, if I had someone to cook for me, now I understand like how someone could eat this way. It's actually pretty good. So that was a seed planted. I didn't act on it yet, but it got me thinking. Then my stepdaughter came home for Thanksgiving, and you were mentioning Thanksgiving. She was vegetarian for a while when she went to college, and she didn't eat the meat at Thanksgiving dinner. She just ate the side dishes. And again, I thought, well, that could be doable. Well, a month later, I saw the program about the workers. And I think those seeds, realizing it was doable, made me more open to start to think about it.
Yeah, but you have to be open first. I mean, unless you are that open, then it's sort of incremental, gradual
Yeah.
opening, and
Yeah.
then suddenly you're in it, and suddenly you try it for a week, and then there's no shame to go backwards, though. I mean, we talk about the sin of veganism, or of being a meat eater, and then you come to Father Emil, I bless you, I take your
Yeah.
confession. I mean, I started that because sometimes I felt like people felt like it was, this is a lifetime thing, and it's they felt so bad, and that's a psychological thing that you must see in some vegans.
Yeah. Well, even like, for example, in the field of addictions, it's very, very common for someone who's trying to quit smoking, for example, to relapse multiple times before they're successful in sticking to it. And I found that with all kinds of lifestyle changes when I was working as a psychotherapist, when people are trying to change their diet or start exercising. It was just very, very common that people would relapse into old behaviors a few times before they were successful at sticking to the new behavior. So I think it's probably not unusual to think that that could also happen with people trying to be vegan, where it can even be more challenging than some other lifestyle changes because we might be the only one in our network eating this way, or living this way. So I think, supporting those of us who are vegans, supporting other people who might be trying to move in this direction through the ups and downs they might have, and not, certainly encouraging them to be 100%, but not closing the door to someone who might have a setback or something that didn't work right, or they didn't handle something the best way. Another statistic that I've come across is that a certain percentage, a fairly high percentage of former vegans actually would like to try to be vegan again. So, but they might be feeling blocked because, like, oh, I wasn't perfect, and so therefore I can't do it, So we certainly want to invite people in this door in whatever way we can, and help people work through the challenges and the obstacles that might be there.
Now, when you talk about the psychological part of veganism, I mean, how do you get people over that guilt or over that hump of, I got to be 100%? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a perfect vegan.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, most of us are striving to do the best we can with that in a world that is far from perfect, where, from what I understand, my car tires have animal products in them or something. I don't know. I mean, so obviously none of us are 100% perfect because we're in a world that doesn't really allow that. But we try to do the best we can. And then if somebody has a slip up, I think the best thing we can do, whether it's ourselves or someone else, is to help learn from it. Anytime there's a setback, it's an opportunity to learn what didn't go right there. What was I doing that I could do differently if this were to come up again? How might I handle this differently the next time around? It's always a learning opportunity. I mean, think about if you were wanting to exercise and yet you weren't going to the gym as regularly as you want. You might look at, well, what could I change in my habits or my lifestyle that would make this work better? Well, the same for being vegan. If I messed up, what got in the way that time? Was it something in my thinking? Was it something in the situation? How could I do it differently? And getting support if needed from other vegans who might have overcome this same challenge.
Yeah. You mentioned addiction, like cigarettes, smoking.
Mhm.
Is it a matter of, in people's minds, of we're going to stop eating meat or we're going to start eating vegetables? Are we going to help the animals or are we going to help the environment? Or are we going to help our bodies? Are we going to help our health? What did you find in your surveys that people said the most?
Hmm. Well, when I asked people why they became vegan and then also why they stayed vegan, um, the majority became vegan because of ethical reasons. And some of them had more than one reason. Some listed a few reasons, like maybe ethical reasons and environmental, both, or something. But the ethical was the strongest, both in why people became vegan and also even more so why they stayed vegan. I think 85% that said that compassion for animals was a primary reason, for becoming vegan, and 90 some percent said it played a big role in staying vegan. So health and the environment and fitness were other reasons people listed for moving to and or staying in this lifestyle. So, and you mentioned about eating meat and addiction. I think there can be an addictive component to that, that dairy for sure has an addictive aspect to it with the
Right.
casomorphines in it that make our brain think it's getting opiates.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh, that's why
meat also.
yeah. That's why it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it certainly there can be we can be sort of addicted to certain foods as well, which can be another challenge on this journey that people have to work through.
But with addictions, I mean, there are some people who say cold turkey is the best. Just you want to stop smoking, don't put a cigarette in your mouth. If you don't eat
Mhm.
meat, don't put meat in the fridge. Don't put meat on the stove. Don't put meat on the menu. Then you got to eat what you got, and that helps. If, well, this is what we have. We got carrots. We're gonna eat carrots. We're gonna eat salad. We're gonna eat more salad. I mean, is it as simple as that sometimes, or is there a psychological hump you have to get over? You find.
Hmm. Well, I would think that in this case, again, having that strong reason for why you're making the change and then setting up your lifestyle to support it. So, one thing that I think about is change has a process where they find that we usually will go from pre-contemplation, where we're not even thinking about making a change, to contemplation, where, okay, now we're thinking about it, but we might still be going back and forth. And then something tips the scale and we move into preparation. Now we're getting ready. And then action. Now we're doing it. Now we're living vegan. But then maintenance is the next stage. That's the often forgotten stage where we actually have to set up our lifestyles so that we can handle day-to-day situations. Like if we never go to the store and buy vegan food, then it's going to be really hard to eat a vegan diet. So we need to do the maintenance piece of it where we're planning our meals. We have the foods on hand. We maybe try not to have those other foods like you're mentioning around the house. And if we live with someone who is not vegan, we set up a way in the kitchen that helps. For example, like the meat eater in the household has to keep their food in a separate refrigerator or something. You come up with some agreement that you can live with, so that you can honor your values and your lifestyle. So yeah, there's a lot of things I think to do to help with sustaining this lifestyle by how you set up your life.
Yeah, I like the title about the idea of the vegan transformation because it is a transformation. I mean, or it's the thing in you coming out and being who you are. So that's a transformation. But
Mhm.
staying there, that's a transformation. And then continuing it. But no, here's the thing that people don't like. We're not really trying to proselytize others to the lifestyle, right? I mean, we're not doing this interview to proselytize and say you must be vegan necessarily. We're not we're not really trying to, we're not recruiters in other way for the carrot celery brigade.
Yeah,
Are we
well,
are we proselytizing?
I don't think of it that way personally. I'm not good at that, for one thing. I'm much more somebody to try to inspire and invite. And because I do feel this lifestyle is better for us as well as for those we're expressing compassion for, it feels good to share about it, even though, sometimes I wish I could do it even better because I think more people could benefit. And obviously, our planet could benefit. And not to mention, of course, the animals, that is always there in the background. So I don't know, maybe a little bit, but but more in an inviting, inspiring way rather than a lecturing, judging way.
Right. We'll invite you to a meal with a meal and it'll be vegan. And we're not preaching. Sort of. I mean, we're presenting data. You had data. That's why you have data.
Yeah,
You,
well, and what you're saying, I think this is another piece of the whole puzzle of our vegan transformation is in the beginning, many of us do want to really share this lifestyle, and we don't always do it in the best ways because, we just want to end the suffering. And so it is part of our vegan transformation is learning how can we share this with those around us in ways that people will actually be curious and want to learn more rather than shut down. So that is part of the
uh,
journey
that,
as well.
that is the truth. You get so excited. Hey, we're vegan, and you can be vegan here. And look, we made this great, vegan chocolate pie, or we made this. Great, if there's no eggs in it, there's no. And they're eating it, and you see their face, like, no eggs, huh? There's barely sugar in it, apparently. Where's the chocolate? or oh, look at this great little roast. It's good. Nothing's harmed. And the tofu skin, it just looks like, oh, it's very nice, Emil. They're trying to be polite, but they resist.
Sometimes it's delicious and people love it too. It can go both ways.
Yeah, but there's that resistance. So do you talk about, the transformation has to deal with the resistance of others, and then you have to say, well, heck with you. You just go off and eat your meat, and we'll go off and eat our salads. I mean, at some point you part ways.
Yeah, and you hope that maybe, again, by being an empowered and inspiring role model, that perhaps you're planting seeds that you don't even know might take root later. Something might happen where that person sees the program like I did, or that something shifts and they come back to you and say, hey, I want to learn more about this vegan thing now.
Yeah, that's right. Planting seeds. That's a plant-based solution to
yes.
converting vegans. Angela Crawford, thank you really for writing the book, The Vegan Transformation, A Journey to Heal Yourself and the World. And you do mean the world, don't you?
I do. Yeah.
All of it, or not just some of it?
All of it, both us as humans and the planet we live on and the animals that we share it with.
Dr. Crawford, thank you for being on the PETA podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. This was an honor.
Dr. Angela Crawford, her book, The Vegan Transformation, she was a psychologist and a psychotherapist for years, did this survey. Very insightful in how she talked to 350 vegans and asked them how it changed them. I think it's pretty interesting, especially the guilt parts and the perfection. I mean, you don't have to be a perfect vegan. We know that. You can always confess to Father Emil anytime. And then I'll send you off to your vegan meal, or your vegan meal. Oh, whatever. Interesting about the addiction part, or, what happens psychologically, rarely covered by people who talk about veganism. The Vegan Transformation is the name of the book. That's our show for today. And that's part 2. So go back and listen to part 1, show 382, and get all of it. So thank you for listening. Don't forget to send a link of this show to your friends. Tell them you like the PETA podcast. You can contact us at PETA.org. You can find me on X. Still on X. I just throw things out there. Twitter, at Emil Amok, EMILAMOK. See me on AMOK.com. Find this podcast on YouTube at Emil Amok1. Once again, thank you for listening. Check out all our episodes on your favorite podcast app or on Apple Podcasts, where you can subscribe to, as well as rate and review the show. Really, it helps get the word out about the issues you care about. Our music, provided by Carbonworks. There they are. Check them out on YouTube. And join us again next time for more insight into animal rights and the fight for a cruelty-free world on the PETA Podcast. I'm Emil Guillermo.